Welcome back, guys. I know it's not a 308 episode, don't leave yet. If you dig big horsepower and custom built cars, you're still gonna have fun on this one. We're gonna dive back into the Model A build today. Now, I also know some of you guys are gonna get up in arms and say, hold on, you're delaying the 308, it's never gonna get done now. Have a little bit of faith, it's not gonna take any longer. Instead, I'm gonna take what spare time I have at the end of the day and on the weekends and throw them at the Model A to get it done. But we gotta get it done in 3 weeks. I've got a tight deadline on my hands because an opportunity has fallen into my lap that I don't wanna miss. I can't tell you what it is yet, but I promise it's gonna be worth it. I think you guys will agree, and I'll fill you in as we get closer to it. Now, if you know the story behind this thing, you know it's been sitting for almost 18 months without an engine, and we'll talk about that too. But to make a long story pretty short, I have ordered a crate engine for this thing, so we are going to put in a fresh engine, make all sorts of horsepower, make a handful of revisions, and get this thing back on California streets. So let's roll it out of the corner, take a look at what we're working with, find out what we need to do and how to get started, and get this project underway. If you've been watching along on the Ferrari build, you've seen the Model A sitting in the background of the episodes for more than a year. But if you aren't familiar with it, this is my 1931 Ford Model A closed cab pickup, or at least that's what it began its life as. But before we dive into all the details and the way that it sits now, let's roll back the clock and check out some older footage from the last time this thing ran. I partnered with H&R to build this truck over the summer of 2018 with the ultimate goal of taking it to SEMA, where it was eventually unveiled to the world. The actual theme of the build is tough to put a name on, but it lies somewhere between road racing and trophy trucks, with a bit of classic hot rodding thrown in as well. I wanted to build something that was unlike any other hot rod that I had seen prior, and I wanted it to scare the bejesus out of me, and it does. It's absolutely wicked to drive. Unfortunately, I only got to put about 50 miles on this thing after getting it fully tuned and road registered before we hurt the motor, which brings us to the way that the car sits today. Now, we'll talk more about that engine later in the episode, but let's take a look at some of the parts and pieces that actually make the Model A up. And while Hoonigan did a build biology episode that has nearly 2 million views about this thing, I've yet to actually post it on my own channel. Showcasing some of my favorite parts and aspects of this thing, I want to start with the wheel setup. These are 18 by 12.5 and 18 by 13 inch Motegis pulled from the Mazda RT24P, Mazda's IMSA prototype race car that was unveiled in 2017. Now, how I got these wheels, I'll have to tell in a different episode, but it's a story worth sharing. But needless to say, these are absolutely perfect for the look of the build and are exactly what I was hoping to stumble upon when I found them. At the back of the truck is the primary cooling system for this thing, with a rear-mounted radiator and electric water pump. Equally visible are the H&R Coilovers that I've decided to mount up high for that trophy truck aesthetic, and I'm using bell cranks and push rods to actually actuate the suspension from the rear axle. The independent front suspension is a design of my own, and it uses a highly modified S550 Mustang front spindle. The whole package is centered around, you guessed it, H&R coils, and it makes the whole thing handle like a go-kart. I took some creative liberties with the front grille using the original 31 grill shell with louvers that I created in order to give me a unique front end that gives way to both the headlights and the heat exchanger. Perhaps the most difficult part of the build was the interior, which is a hand-shaped and riveted aluminum setup. There's several thousand equally spaced rivets in here, and it's all to capture the flair of an old Group C prototype chassis. It took a ton of work to build this, but I love the way that it came out. The towering Renstall shift knob is attached to a NASCAR gearbox, which makes for wild shifting and only adds to how crazy this thing is to drive. And for the curious, yes, I still have the original bed for the pickup hanging on the wall as well. Alright, now there's going to be a lot of talking to do on this one because there's a lot of stuff to explain and discuss, but I'm going to throw old footage and B-roll at you guys, so I hope it's not too much of a bore. But let's start talking about the engine in this thing, because obviously there's not one in it now. Let's talk about what happened and then what we're going to do about it. When I built this truck, I put a first gen Coyote motor in it, the 5-liter motor out of a 2011 Mustang GT. I bought that because I found it locally and I got a killer deal on it. But it wasn't until after I bought it that I thought, it'd be kind of fun to put a blower on top of this thing. Well, if you know Coyote motors, you know that Gen 1 motors are a lot weaker than Gen 2 and Gen 3 Coyotes. Gen 2s and Gen 3s are known for having, quote, forged internals in them. And while that's a bit of a misnomer, they are a lot stronger and better suited for a lot of manifold pressure. However, I told the tuner I'm not worried about setting power records or turning the earth. I just want to have some fun here. I want to scare myself. And I was promised that the tune was safe, reliable, I could beat on it all I wanted and we wouldn't hurt it. Now, is it the tune's fault? I don't know. We broke a ring land on cylinder 8, lost compression, and I knew at that time we needed to pull the motor out of the truck. It could easily be a result of just not changing the ring gap on an otherwise stock motor, strapping a supercharger on top of it, and making 730 wheel horsepower. I'm not beyond admitting that. Problems do arise when you do that. However, that engine's been at the engine builder for 17 and a half months. Now, yeah, I could make a stink, I could yell at the guy, but it's not gonna get it done any faster. I know that, and he knows that. At this point, it'll be done when it's done, it'll show up when it shows up, and if I have a use for it, we'll use it, and if not, I'll sell it off. To solve this problem, we need a new engine. Now, the first solution that I came up with was to buy this second-gen Coyote from a buddy of mine. And the reason for that is, as mentioned, they're a lot stronger. It's better suited for a boosted application, and you can get away with a lot of horsepower without opening it up. They are a well-built motor. But this one needs a full rebuild, and I don't want to go through that process right now. As mentioned, we've got a timeline, and I want to get this thing done. So I'm going to come up with a different solution for that motor, or maybe sell it off, give it back to my buddy. I don't know yet. Instead, we're going to buy a crate motor for the Model A. In fact, I already have. Ford Performance sells what they call an Aluminator, which is a 5-liter Coyote with true forged internals, manly rods and pistons, and a forged steel crankshaft that is built for boosted applications. It's a lower compression ratio, and it's meant to take a ton of boost and make a ton of power. It's the right tool for the job, and it's what I should have done the first time around. I bought one, and it's what we're gonna stick in this thing, and I'm excited about it because it's the right thing, the right way to do it, no corners cut this time around. But putting that engine in this thing isn't without a handful of challenges. All of our engine accessories, our engine mounts, all that stuff will transfer right over. This will be a bolt-in affair, and it should only take, give or take, maybe an hour or two to put the engine into the truck and have it all kind of set up, so to speak. The problem is that the Gen 2 engines don't run on the same electronics as a Gen 1. I can't just plug into the computer that I have in there and make it go. So we're gonna have to rewire this engine and change the ECU setup. And there's a couple of different options. I haven't fully decided what we're gonna do yet. I can either go with a factory Ford computer, which they offer, and it's what I have in this one as well, or I can do a standalone setup. I know that Haltech has a complete Coyote system. Maybe we'll go with something like that. AEM Infinity does as well. So there's a handful of options, and we're gonna go with one of those because we have to change it. It's simply required, as far as I understand at least. Everything else on this thing should be pretty straightforward, and it shouldn't be too much work to get it up and running, but we do have to do a handful of other maintenance jobs and some revisions, some changes. The biggest one on the list is probably redoing the fuel lines. This thing runs on E85 fuel, and if you know E85, you know that it's pretty caustic and likes to corrode things. Well, it's been sitting with fuel in the fuel lines for way too long, and I think the responsible choice would be to replace all of the fuel lines. We will rebuild them all. I've got plenty of Vibrant Performance line and hardware to do it. So we'll refresh all of the fuel system on this thing, change the fuel filter, clean out the fuel pump, and just make sure that the whole fuel system is in good operating order because we don't want to pop it. Another change that we need to do is we need to put fresh tires on it. These things are pretty dated and starting to age out and get a bit dry. And the other change, of course, some of you guys will laugh at this, is we've got to redo the upper control arms in the front. They're fine, they work, but a buddy of mine welded them up for me, and when he did it, he used stainless rod instead of mild steel rod on mild steel control arms, and I'm worried that they might crack once we really start to drive this thing, so we might as well take the opportunity now and redo them. It shouldn't be too much work, it should be pretty simple. Otherwise, this truck is set up. It is a running, driving truck, or it was at least, and it is a blast. I built this thing to be absolutely terrifying, and it is. Last time it was on the dyno, it made 730.2 wheel horsepower. The thing weighs 2,200 pounds. It is a death trap, but it's a ton of fun. It's the loudest thing I have ever heard, and it looks sick, so I'm excited to get this thing back on the road. It's only a matter of time. Like I said, we've got 3 weeks to pull this off, and it's gonna be a decent bit of work, but as promised, we're not gonna ignore the 308. We're still gonna get it done, and I've got an episode for you guys coming in the next day or two. So stick around, don't go anywhere. The 308 will continue on, okay? So we've got a game plan together for this thing, and we've got the engine on the way. It hopefully will be here by the end of the week. I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed. It's pretty optimistic, but shipping says that it might be. Past that, we've got lots of parts showing up for the 308. We've got our send, cut, send order arriving tomorrow, so we can get some fabrication underway. I've got some sick brakes to show you guys. The AP Racing setup showed up on Friday, and it is incredible. You guys are going to love it. This stuff is insane. Got lots of progress to make over here. I'm looking forward to everything we got going on. I hope you guys are looking forward to progress on the Model A. Make sure you leave me some feedback in the comments and let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys at the end of the week. Thanks as always for the support.